From Chaucer's feelings of guilt comes The Legend of Good Women. Starring Chaucer, the emotionally distraught author who is keenly aware of social issues but has a very complex understanding of female emotion and who keeps interrupting his own stories. Also starring this funky little statue and different nail polish colors playing women who are 100% perfect 100% of the time. This spoon, which will be playing all of the men in the story. Guest appearances from sisters, friends, and letters. The tale begins in a meadow when Chaucer meets Cupid's wife, who says, "Chaucer, you have not portrayed women right in any of your tales." This comes as a shock to Chaucer, but he vows to make up for it by telling the truth about famous women. The tale starts with Cleopatra, who falls in love with Antonius. They get married and sail to Rome, but their ship is sabotaged. Antonius is upset. Nobody ever taught him how to deal with failure, so he kills himself. Cleopatra flees to Egypt, jumps into a pit of snakes, and kills herself also. Next is Thisbe and Pyramus, who grew up on opposite sides of a really big brick wall. They talk to each other through a small hole in the wall and plan to run away together. Thisbe leaves first, but she encounters a lion, so she has to hide. Pyramus comes next, and he sees blood on the ground, so he thinks Thisbe is dead. He kills himself. Thisbe sees him die and also kills herself. Then is the legend of Dido, who falls in love with Archias, but he is moody, so Dido gives him gifts to make him happy. They fall in love, but Archias runs away to Italy and marries somebody else. Dido is upset. She writes a letter about unfaithful love and kills herself. Then is the legend of Hypsipyle and Medea, who both fall in love with a man named Jason. Hypsipyle marries him first, but he gets tired of her, so he runs away. She writes a letter about unfaithful love and lives the rest of her life in misery. Then Jason marries Medea, but he also decides to run away. So Medea writes a letter about unfaithful love and lives the rest of her life in misery. The legend of Ariandre starts with Ariandre and her sister banding together to save Theseus from a minotaur. They do, and Theseus decides to marry Ariandre, but in the middle of the night he sneaks off with her sister. Ariandre is heartbroken. She doesn't write a letter about unfaithful love, but she gives a speech about it instead. Lucretia falls in love with a king. I think it's a king, there's a plot hole there, but anyway, she falls in love with the king, but a man named Tarquinius is upset, so he frames her for adultery. She is heartbroken, but don't worry, her friends believe her. But because Lucretia is a woman, she is perfect and innocent and wonderful all the time, so she blames herself. She writes a letter about unfaithful love and kills herself. Philomella's story starts with the reunion of her and her sister. But her sister's husband gets jealous, so he steals Philomela, cuts off her tongue, and rapes her for the rest of her life. Phyllis's story is about Demophon, who pledges to marry her but then runs away and never returns. Phyllis is heartbroken. She writes a letter about unfaithful love and kills herself. The last tale is about Hypermnestra, who is told by the king to kill her husband. She tries, but he runs away and has her imprisoned. Join us in the story of a lifetime as we discover female strength, why relationships aren't worth it, and #men are trash. Thank you, Chaucer. This is The Legend of Obedient Women.